So, hello everyone. Listen, it is Monday morning, and as you guys know, I like to start Mondays with a mindset that will get you focused and moving in a positive, productive way through your week. My name is Caneisha Berry, and I am with Berry Thoughtful Life Coaching. I am focusing on relationships for the next probably 30 days or more because right now I'm learning that a lot of people are really struggling in their marriages or in their relationships. And so I don't know if many of you guys know, but I do have a book called Think Your Way to a Better Marriage. And I wrote this book during a time, actually, I didn't write it intentionally during this time, but this book is actually a reflection of the time of a troubling time during my marriage. Some of the things that my husband and I did to move ourselves out of the struggle into a more productive, positive, thriving marriage. Listen, we've been married for 27 years, and I'll be the first to say that marriage is not always easy. But I will tell you, if you do the work, it can be so, so good, so, so sweet. And the thing I see when I have coach clients, couple clients, and I stopped doing couples coaching because I often found that the couples who were coming to me wasn't interested in really growing or prospering their relationship. They was interested in being right. And as long as you're in a relationship and your top goal is to be right, you're not going to win in the relationship. You're going to win at being right. But when someone in a relationship, when someone wins, that means someone is losing, and therefore you're not working together. So I want to talk to you guys this morning about what are three things you can do to make sure you're thriving in your relationship. Now, I'm a bona fide God girl. That means I love the word. I read the Bible. I trust God. I move through life from a Jesus first perspective. And so I would encourage the first thing that you need to do to have a thriving marriage, a thriving relationship, is to have a good, healthy relationship with God. Now, I get we're all in different places in life. So maybe for you, it's not God. Maybe for you, it's universe. Maybe for you, it's something else. But I will say, I truly believe in order to survive or to thrive in a good, healthy relationship, you need something greater than you, bigger than yourself. And the reason is because if you don't, if you think that you are the answer, your partner is the answer, you're going to be pulling from each other and trying to get from each other something that I know that only God can give you. It is God that will give you that will be the answer to those deep needs, the deep need of feeling significant, the deep need of feeling important, the deep need of feeling safe and secure. So your partner can't always do that for you. Now, there are earthly things your partner can do, but that deep longing that we all have for something more, something greater, I encourage you to get that from God. So, in order to have a thriving relationship with an earthly being, I encourage you to be in relationship with something greater than yourself. The second thing I encourage you to do is learn to validate yourself. Like, learn to, when you're in that relationship with God, so God is going to help you recognize that if you've grown up with hurts and pains and messagings that you're not good enough, that you're not beautiful, that you're not loving. I found that when I get into God's word, his word tells me a better identity of myself than the one that my mind, what I call mind monsters, tell me, or that the world has told me. And when I can get into that place, when I can begin to truly find my identity in him, when I can begin to relate to who God says I am, now I can see myself better. I can be more loving to myself. I can be more accepting of myself. And it's from that energy, that feeling, that belief that then now I can bring into my marriage a full cup instead of an empty cup. So now I'm not running to Andre to fill places that he can't even touch or see, because I'm learning through spending that time with God, prioritizing a relationship with God first, that is where then my pouring comes, right? So there's a saying that tells us to make sure your cup is full before you go and try to fill someone else's cup. And I find that many times in relationships, and Andre and I did this for years before we started doing the work, the emotional work required to have a healthy, positive relationship. Um, is that we was trying to use one another to fill our cup. If I was sad, he thought he was his answer was to do something to make me happy. And for a long time, I let him. And then if he was going through something and I wanted the answer to be, let me help you, let me make it, let me fix it, let me make it better. Here's the thing, as humans, we have limited capacity, right? We can love greatly. We can want our love to conquer all. Like we all buy into the songs, we buy into the movies that, my love is enough. Our love alone is enough. You will find when you get into relationship with people and you're particularly in marriage or in that where we're under one roof and we're spending continuous time together, you will begin to wonder, is love enough? Because you will be invited to be stretched and challenged in ways that you've never been stretched and challenged before. Now here's the problem that happens when the stretching and the challenging comes. We haven't been taught, our society, our probably parents, the dynamic of who we are as humans, our limited capacity to view challenges excuse me, as an invitation. We haven't been taught that. And particularly when we enter into relationships and into marriages with an idea or a notion that the marriage is to make me happy. Oh my God, I found my soulmate. Okay. That I find those two words to be very, very concerning. I found my soulmate. When we truly think about what is the soul is your thoughts, your emotions, and then your behaviors because of those thoughts and emotions. So if you're saying you found your soulmate, you are saying that you have found someone who think like you, emote like you, now behave like you. And that can seem loving and cute and beautiful in the beginning, but over time, that will become very challenging because the likelihood that two people think the same and emote the same at the same time and choose the same is very, very limited, right? So I would encourage you to be willing to shift your mind and your relationships and your thoughts about relationships out of this concept of they are like me and that I'm right in the relationship and the goal of the relationship is that we're going to be happy and all things are going to be great, and if I'm not happy then something is wrong. I invite you to shift your mind out of that way of thinking to the third thing that causes a relationship to thrive, and that is the growth mindset. Now, we've heard about the growth mindset many times in business, in being a student in education, but I want you to think about the growth mindset in terms of marriage and in relationship. Imagine entering into a relationship, or even if you're already in that relationship, being in that shifting, saying, I invite you to grow. I invite you to change, to develop, but not into who I think you should be, but in who God is, one, calling you to be, two, in who you think you should be. I invite you to grow into the man or the woman that moves in love and moves in joy. I invite you to challenge me. I invite you to challenge me to grow. So can you imagine being in a relationship where you're telling your spouse, your significant other, I invite you to challenge me to grow. I invite you that when I see things a certain way, I invite you to share your perspective, that I may have a second perspective of a same situation. I will give up the notion of being right or proving you're wrong for the benefit of the relationship of gaining understanding. Because when you're right about something, when you're convinced that your way is the only way, that you're absolutely correct, that there is absolutely no other way to do this but what I think, there's no room for understanding. There's no room for listening. There's no space for seeing another person's perspective. Because if you're right, you're only thought is, your only energy is to convince them they're wrong or to convince them to do it your way, that doesn't build a healthy, safe, thriving relationship. A thriving relationship is one where two people know I am safe to be me. I am safe to say some hard things. I am safe to not be attacked by just saying words that they may not agree with. I am safe. I am in a relationship where it is safe for me to challenge my partner, not to berate, not to downplay, not to hurt them with my words, but to challenge the way they're thinking, to challenge what they're seeing, so that the ultimately we get to a space where there's a goal. There is something that we want together as a couple, not I want my way, she wants her way, or he wants his way, not that way of thinking, right? But the way of thinking that we both have an idea or goal that we've set for this relationship. What if the goal is to save X amount of dollars? What if the goal is to communicate more effectively? What if the goal is to offer each other more kindness, more compassion, more intimacy? If that is the goal, how do we get there? And then together you decide, what does intimacy look like to you? Because what if you guys are trying to get somewhere where in your own separate minds the vision or the definition is different and you never discussed it? So, because for some time, intimacy, for many people, when you say the word intimacy, people mind goes straight to sex. But true intimacy is that connection, the connection of closeness, the connection of, again, the vulnerability. Here's a place I can be vulnerable. I can truly be myself. I can give from myself. This is the opportunity for a relationship to bloom, to blossom, and to thrive at a different level. So I encourage you that as you move on, move through life, trying to build these happily ever after relationships, one, prioritize your time with God. Make sure that He really is where you're going to for your source of all things. And here's why. Because as a God girl, I believe that God knows me and He knows Andre way better than we know each other. And imagine if I'm tapping into my time with God and there's something going on between my husband and I. God can speak to both of us in an intimate, quiet way. Well, now when we come together and we talk, and this happens a lot for Andre and I now, that God would drop an idea, Andre and share, and I'm like, oh my God, I was just thinking about that. Or he'll be like, you got to be kidding me. I was going to talk to you about that. So when you invite God into the relationship, He has a way of communicating with the both of you without there being a distrust, without there being um, uh, anyone who needs to referee, because God can speak right to the issue. The second thing is I encourage you to make sure you learn how to do self validation, because when you know who you are in God, you don't need anyone else's permission to be wonderful, to be great, to be loving, to be accepted. You don't have to question, am I accepted? Do they love me? But you'll know that you're greatly accepted. So now you can communicate that better to your partner, right? You don't communicate from the hurt and the ache and the need. You communicate from the love, the joy, and the support, because your cup is full. Now you can allow them to hear from you from your fullness. And then lastly, remember, make that relationship about growth. Don't make it about your happiness. Make it about, I am willing to grow. I'm inviting my partner to grow. I'm inviting my partner to help me grow, and I want to see them grow. So I pray that this has been helpful to you. I do have an ask. Will you do me a favor? Will you like, share, and subscribe my videos? Will you let other people know that we're going to be talking about relationships? Because I do have this book, Think Your Way to a Better Marriage, and you can get this book. Order it through me. The link is somewhere, depending on where you're watching. The link is around the video. Also, October the 6th, I will be offering a class on the topic. It's a 6-week course that I'm super excited about. So if you're interested in that, let me know, because I am working on out all the details now. Talk to you soon. Bye.